Street Fighter, the most popular fighting game series of all time. The Street Fighter series has had its ups and downs when it comes to game installments, but none of them performed quite as well as Street Fighter 2. Back in 1987, Capcom developed the first Street Fighter game titled Street Fighter. It didn't explode in popularity, but it performed well enough to earn a sequel. And so, 4 years later, in 1991, Street Fighter 2: The World Warrior would hit Japanese arcades. Street Fighter 2 was a revolutionary game, creating many of the functions and mechanics used in fighting games today, indirectly spawning a plethora of copycats. This game exploded in Japanese arcades and households, and would soon after take the rest of the world by storm. Street Fighter 2 is so popular, it became a micro-franchise. I sort of call it a micro-franchise because it got so popular that it sort of became its own franchise. It's sort of like Final Fantasy VII, how it's a part of the Final Fantasy franchise, but at the same time, it's kind of its own thing. Yeah. Street Fighter 2 produced more spin-offs than any other Street Fighter game, which will be the subject of this video. In 1993, Street Fighter 2 would receive a manga spin-off titled Street Fighter 2: Ryu. The manga was illustrated by Masaomi Kanzaki and would be published in the Family Computer magazine. For those of you that don't know what a family computer is, a family computer, or Famicom for short, was renamed overseas to the Nintendo Entertainment System, so it's an NES. The Street Fighter 2 manga produced up to 3 volumes running from 1993 through 1994. Tokuma Shoten, the publishing company behind the Famicom magazine at the time, had an American branch, Tokuma Comics. The first 2 volumes of the Street Fighter manga was released in the form of 8 comic book issues. Back in the 90s, anime wasn't accepted in its original form overseas, America being one of those countries. Many series had changes made to them to suit Western audiences. It was the same for manga. Unlike Western comic books, manga is read from right to left. Whenever a manga was brought to the West, they were converted into comic books. Their images mirrored and reversed so they can be read from left to right. Luckily, Street Fighter 2 avoided that fate. While the manga was converted into a comic book format, the pages were not reversed. Instead, the panels were rearranged to be read from left to right. Yes, the manga has still been altered, but the art remains intact in its original form. Or does it? Unlike the manga, the comic book has colored pages. That can be seen as an enhancement to the overall art style of the book. Alas, only Volume 1 was completely adapted. The comic book version does adapt some of Volume 2, but ultimately does not complete it. 14 years later, Udon Comics would publish the original black and white Street Fighter 2 manga in English in its completion, uncut. While the books have new volume art, the classic art is shown in the back of each volume. The original Street Fighter 2 manga is available in manga form in all of its completion. We've reached the happy ending. Now let's talk about the plot of the original manga. In preparation for the birth of a new global economy, various corporations around the world fund a project to construct a man-made island known as Shad. Anyways, this island was urbanized, being home to metropolitan cities not unlike Tokyo or New York. Unfortunately, global hostilities arise, cause you know, politics. The stock market crashes and the project gets abandoned, turning Shad, which was supposed to be a landmark of financial achievement, into an ungoverned, lawless land. There was only one thing that united the people of Shad: street fighting. Eventually, a competition known as the Grand Fighting Tournament is born, prompting for fighters from around the world to gravitate towards the island in order to test their strength in the tournament. For the past 2 years, a single fighter wielding unworldly powers came out on top as the tournament's victor. This man is suspected to be the new ruler of the island. Unlike the previous tournaments, there's a dark plot brewing behind the scenes. A plan to turn the strongest fighter into an obedient, living weapon. This is a story I've been waiting to cover for a long time. Unfortunately, there aren't any scans I can find online, so you'll have to settle for the colored images from the comic version, and the photos I'll be taken from the physical uncut manga that I have in my possession. This manga is special. It introduces a character that wouldn't be playable in any Street Fighter game until 15 years after the original publication of this manga. I look forward to showing off more of Street Fighter's fascinating history on this channel.
Capcom.
As some of you may know, I made a post pretty much announcing that I'm going to start including Q&A segments in some of my videos to promote more interactions between the community and I. I got 3 questions, so I'm going to drop them all on this one video, alright? Question number 1 from Lord DBS God 927. What got you into making videos? The short answer, boredom. Just absolute boredom. Now here's the long answer, alright? I had all these video games I was playing, but I was like, I was watching all these fighting game YouTubers do their thing, and I'm like, man, I wonder if I could do that. But my purpose was a little bit different. So when I first started my gaming channel, it went by the name of Moon Killer. I pretty much wanted to make a record of every single fighting game that I've ever played, just to show record that I played it, I guess, like a little library of sorts. Cause I sort of do want to play just about almost every fighting game that I find worthy of my time. And there's shitty ones that, unfortunately are worthy of my time because their sequels become so much better. So I put myself through that. Misery. Just complete and utter misery. But, eventually, video game content wasn't the only stuff I was watching on YouTube. I was watching a lot of anime content in terms of power scaling. And I was like, you know what? I want to do that too. So I made another channel. Alright, now that channel went through multiple names because I couldn't make up my goddamn mind. First I called it Dark Star Anime. After that I called it Godfist, which people were pissed that I got rid of Godfist. I was even hesitant to get rid of it, but I think I made the right choice. So yeah, the gaming channel still exists. It's called the Ashura Arcade. Low-key thinking about changing the name, I'm not gonna lie. I know it's bad to keep changing YouTube channel names, but who gives a shit, right? But anyway, I watch certain Dragon Ball videos, mainly Dragon Ball videos, and sometimes you just hear some of your most favorite YouTubers spout complete and utter bullshit that absolutely isn't true. When you comment on their video, it can only go so far. How about I spread some truths of my own, And then there's other passions that I have, like, there's not a lot of people that make Fist of the North Star content, A lot of people don't talk about the other Street Fighter series that are, underground, even though they're, right there in plain sight, There's Street Fighter anime series that people don't even talk about. Mangas that people don't even talk about. So I'm gonna be that guy, and I'm gonna talk about it, because I like this stuff. It was just as simple as that, My YouTube channels were channels that I made to pretty much, project things that I like and talk about stuff that I like, Well, that's pretty much all there is to it. It's a hobby. Second question, Amaterasu. What's your favorite Tekken game? Tekken 7. Because it has Akuma. The best Street Fighter character. Possibly the best video game character. I didn't say this part, but possibly, this isn't coming from me, alright? But possibly the best character in fiction, alright? I didn't say that part, alright? But I've heard people claim that he's the best thing to happen since sliced fucking bread. So, they made him canon to the story. He wasn't just a guest character. They made him canon to the actual plot. That's insane. Now, the final question from Jeremy Crow 5626. Your favorite top 10 games from 2015 through 2025. So that's 10 years of gaming. I assembled a list. So, starting from my least favorite to my most favorite. Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm 4. Fist of the North Star, Lost Paradise, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, Street Fighter 6, Tekken 7, Guilty Gear Strive, Guilty Gear Xrd Revelator, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and last but not least, y'all seen this coming, Dragon Ball Fighters. Because Dragon Ball Fighters is a game I've wanted since I was a kid. I've always wanted a Marvel vs. Capcom Dragon Ball game, Now, when I was a kid, I wished for a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 Dragon Ball game, because that's what existed at the time. But they gave us Marvel 3. you know. So, well, as mechanical wise, not, you know, actual gameplay wise, but in terms of like the sparking and the X factor and the 3v3, you know. So it's kind of like Marvel 3. But yeah, that's my top 10 favorite video games from the last 10 years. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Peace.